Welcome to the dynamic learning hub of XLR at Andheri East. A prime spot conveniently located at just a 5-minute walk from LIC Andheri Metro. In our journey of over a decade, we have proudly trained over 2 lakh students. We have also been recognized by Deloitte, Silicon India, and other accreditation bodies. Experience learning like never before in our spacious and comfortable classrooms. With high-definition projectors and state-of-the-art acoustics in place, we ensure effective learning even to the farthest point in the room. The hybrid mode is a game changer as you can enjoy the benefits of a live classroom from the comfort of your home. Even if you happen to miss any classroom session, you can still attend the same session with the same trainer at the same time at your convenience, maintaining consistency in your learning progress. Wanna get started? Join us for a demo or career chat over a cup of coffee at our Andheri branch. XLR. We don't just train, we build careers.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I think it's good to go. So, Bala, you can start the session.
Yeah, okay, Chandra.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So let's look at some other aspects of cloud computing. So yesterday we have seen some characteristics of cloud computing and some benefits over that, right? Using a cloud computing in various methods and what kind of a services that can be used. And we have tried to see the examples as well. So let's try to understand how these benefits gonna apply and what are the advantages. Okay. So the main first benefit, if you can see, there are multiple aspects that the cloud computing is trying to provide. It's highly scalable, more flexible, reduced infrastructure, higher security, backup and disaster recovery, and no location constraints. So these are various benefits that we can try to overview in deep. When it comes to flexible and scalable, one of major benefits of cloud computing for any business which has opted cloud computing can increase or decrease the bandwidth as per the requirement. So that means when we had an infrastructure, if you need high servers, more number of servers based on the application and the traffic load, then the servers can be increased. And for the same situation, if there is a low traffic and we doesn't require more servers, then what happened? We can try to decrease the servers. That means as the cloud will be taking care of the expenses, we just need to pay for how many servers we are trying to use, how many hours we are trying to use, and what is the cost. That's what we need to be concerned with. Okay. So there is an example over here. For example, an e-commerce website during the holidays will get a rise in traffic, and accordingly, they have to manage the bandwidth because during the off season there will be less traffic. So it is something simple like a Amazon or Flipkart website. What actually happens during big billion days or festival season sales, what actually happens? So many people are trying to access the same website again and again, correct? So during that time, what actually happens? It requires more bandwidth. It requires more number of servers, correct? And during non-business hours, if during non-festival seasons, the website's access will be fine. So there will be less traffic, correct? So with the cloud computing, they just have to contact the cloud service provider and get the bandwidth increase. That means the people are most number of people are accessing. So I need more number of servers. So that can be done quick. So how it is possible? The cloud vendor, whether it is Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, right? Or Microsoft Azure, anyone, like whoever is trying to rent the servers or infrastructure, they will be able to help you with increasing and decreasing. That is nothing but it is easily flexible and scalable. All right. This makes it easier for businesses to increase and decrease the bandwidth as and when required, hence saving the cost. So that is the main advantage we are trying to get over here. All right. This is one such kind of a benefit which we have to understand. When it comes to the infrastructure, okay, it is having a reduced infrastructure cost. What is infrastructure? Infrastructure is nothing but a combination of all hardware components and the devices and the servers, the physical aspects, whatever it is required to have a data center, correct? So the benefit we can see here, moving to cloud resources, the cost of managing and maintaining servers. Okay, the cloud computing eliminates the need to invest in servers and the software. That means we don't need to spend time and money on servers and the software here. Cloud also reduces the overhead cost. That means what is required for a small company to have a infrastructure launched, manpower is required. That is IT staff. So IT staff is someone, manpower, who will try to operate the infrastructure of the data center or complete servers, correct? So we need to pay salaries for them as well. So the IT staff and the power, we require like power, data storage, the devices, and the bandwidth. So they are the payment models as well for the cloud, like one-time payment and pay as you go. That means either you can try to pay the amount, like there will be kind of a different types of a payment modes. Either you can try to have a one-time payment, or it will be something like pay as you go. That means one-time payment is nothing but a prepaid, correct? Pay as you go is nothing but a postpaid. So how much you are trying to use, you are trying to pay for the resources you are using over the cloud environment. Therefore, businesses can choose according to their need. That is the benefit over here. Okay. No location constraints. Access to anything stored in the cloud at any point of a time and from any location via the internet gives you the 24/7 365 days availability. That means we don't have any problems when it comes to the location. That means if you want to access the cloud and the resources in the cloud, that if you want to use the services in the cloud, so it is available across 24 hours, 7 days per week, and 365 days. So all the time it is available. That's what it means. So that means the data and the applications, the softwares, whatever you're trying to access, that will be stored inside the cloud, and you can trying to access those resources across any part of the globe. Okay. Simply, we are nowadays, as for the technology, we are trying to access the resources from mobile as well. We are trying to see the data in the drives, like a storage drive, the images, the documents, whatever, and from wherever we are. That's the main benefit, correct? Okay. So this enables employees or users to work from anywhere, anytime. That's the main benefit. Okay. So next benefit over here is security, backup, and disaster recovery. Data security and redundancy is the backup backbone on which the cloud computing is built on. So the security is a main concern for any company or any clients or the users, right? So the security should be the main concern, and the cloud is trying to take the utmost priority on this. And the backup services, for example, if there is a loss of data, we need to make sure our data should be backup as well, and it can be easily recovered in case of any tough crisis, correct? So data security and redundancy is the backbone on which cloud computing is built on. Therefore, the cloud service providers spend heavily on the servers and data security. So that's what they are trying to mention, that the cloud vendors, like a big cloud vendors, so the companies, they are trying to invest, you know, so much of cost, trying to have a proper precautions, and trying to make ensure that the security is the one that is trying to take into priority. They are trying to spend heavily on the servers and also on the data security as well. Most of the cloud service providers are capable of handling information recovery. Okay, so that means what actually happens, for example, you have a data in the Google Cloud Drive, correct? And your data is lost. So what actually happens if you try to enable the backup? That might be an additional cost of the feature. If you try to enable the backup, what happen? Even by mistake, if your data got deleted, the data can be easily recovered, correct? So that is the technology and the precautions where the cloud vendors are trying to take care so that we don't lose our data. So that's what they are trying to mention, that the cloud service providers are capable of handling information recovery. That means your data and information can be easily recovered. And also, since the data is stored in the cloud, it is much easier to backup and restore compared to the physical devices. Okay, this is how the benefit being. We will try to review again the advantages of cloud computing here. So to have a summarize, the flexibility when it comes to, there is a high rate of a flexibility. Okay, low cost, and when it comes to the cost effective, companies can save big by employing cloud computing, as it eliminates the cost for hardware and the software. Okay, so that means, as we have understood, that you don't need to invest the money or the time on the physical aspects when it compared to the cost. So companies can try to save so much of amount when they want to completely switch their infrastructure over the cloud environment. Okay, so is it eliminates the cost for hardware and the software. Okay, as it eliminates the cost by software and hardware, because you don't need to purchase, right, the physical devices, and you don't need to spend money on the software as well, correct? That is the biggest advantage. So when a business, like any companies who fully adopts a cloud computing solution, the two most significant benefits are IT cost, right, savings, and access to business data from anywhere. These are the main two primary points. Okay, additionally, over 90% of the companies that adopt a cloud computing solution claims to significantly improve their cyber security and meet any mandate compliance requirements, because I mean, it has a very good feedback. Okay, so in addition to better cybersecurity posture, companies benefit from the storing their business data into multiple locations. All right. In that sense, having business data stored in multiple locations also enhances a company's disaster recovery. Okay. So how it is going to help out? Because of These kind of an additional features that is being offered by cloud computing. All right. So how this is going to eliminate cost? Because every day, like 24/7 monitoring with IT experts, like 24-hour monitoring by IT experts, like we have to pay salaries, right, to IT staff. That is going to be expensive, and trying to duplicate with IT company staff. But the cloud computing is trying to provide that we will monitor, we will try to take care of the monitoring, we will try to pay salaries, we will try to maintain the infrastructure, we will try to maintain the hardware and software. You just pay the amount for the service as per the agreement. Okay. And coming to speed and scales, traditional methods to buy and configuring hardware and softwares are time consuming. Okay. When a company demand, like when a company business demand increases for its products or services, the cloud service provider will automatically match the demand with increased IT resources and decrease the IT resources when the business drops. Okay. And easier management of data and information. Since data are located on a centralized location, data are more organized, making it easy to manage. That means cloud service providers will trying to take care of all the management, and your data is being secured over there, and your information it doesn't trying to have it passed on to over the internet or anyone. That cannot be leaked easily. So business data is available 24 hours a day from any location in the world. Providing a reliable internet connection is available at that particular data center location. And the cloud providers immediately update any software as soon as the updates are available, which minimize any potential, 0-day attacks. Okay. And as cloud-based servers in multiple locations contains your business data, it minimizes the chances of losing any, business data. Okay. So you can trying to have access to your data from anywhere, like a smartphones, iPads, Androids, desktops, any devices. Okay. Like a computers, wherever you can try to access that. So device diversity. We can access our applications and data anywhere in the world or any system, right? So business that move to a cloud computing solution gains a significant advantage by reducing IT labor, IT resource cost versus business that keep everything in a local business server farm with a continued IT resource cost. Okay. When it comes to the increased storage capacity is another benefit of the cloud computing, as it can store more data as compared to the personal computer that we have already shown, right? Our hard disk in our computers or PCs, that can be limited. You cannot, even for example, there's a 4 TB hard disk or 8 TB hard disk. If that is completed, you have to again purchase a new hard disk and trying to store the data. That is a problem here. Okay. So, and as we have seen, the benefit over here, trying to store the data, it's similar like a Google Drive, or if you have an iCloud, it's similar like that. The storage being handled by whom? The cloud compute vendors, correct? So they will be trying to manage the storage in the background, and we are trying to manage over the software in the applications that can be accessed from different devices. Easy to learn and understand. Okay. Since people are quite used to cloud applications like Gmail, Google Docs, or anything related to the same is most likely to be understood by the user. So that means this cloud computing is also trying to provide an interface and the console that is very much easy and flexible to understand. We can simply access the console. That will be helpful. I will try to show you tomorrow as well once we are done with this. That is easily accessible and we can try to access with no issues. Automatic updating. Automatic update means in terms of a software updates, it saves companies time and effort to update multiple servers. We have seen that the Windows operating systems or the Linux operating systems, these operating systems needs frequent updates, like a monthly updates, like in your computers as well. If you see at your home, like a laptops or the computers, that needs software updates monthly, correct? Like a Windows updates. So when it is in the cloud, who will take care of that? The Windows updates, that is going to be taken care by cloud vendors, because we don't need to spend time and effort, because there will be thousands of servers. You don't need to spend time and effort on that. You just need to use the software and the operating system, but the software updates, complete concepts will be taken care by whom? It will be taken care by cloud vendors itself. Okay, that's another kind of a concept over here we are seeing. Customize setting. Cloud computing also allows you to customize your business applications. That means if you have an applications that you want to integrate with the cloud computing, that can be easily possible. You can trying to customize the applications based on the need and requirement. So such kind of a various benefits and the options being provided by the cloud computing. Okay. So these are all the benefits of the cloud computing, what we are trying to see here. Okay. So let's try to look into other aspects. Yep. So these are the characteristics of cloud computing. That is nothing but a self infrastructure. That means you will be able to access the cloud vendor console. You can access them and trying to, use it. Correct. You are trying to self operate, right? So it is not like that there is someone as a mediator who is trying to operate and trying to control your resources. It is you that you can try to self operate. True elastic capacity. Elastic means it can be expanded as per your need based on the business requirement, and improving the business agility by the applications, the services that's being offered by the cloud computing can be customized based on the business requirements and the enterprise. So these cloud computing technology being feasible for mid-scale startup companies and the government companies, like most of that, it will be completely into in place. So we have seen these benefits as well. So let's try to see the concept of virtualizations. Okay. So as we have seen, uh, how these cloud vendors are trying to maintain all these servers in the data center. And you might have a doubt how we are trying to simply access over the internet, how it is possible. So it is nothing but a virtual computer that is stored somewhere, correct? And we are simply trying to access those computers, right? Virtual servers remotely over the internet. How it is possible? That we might have a doubt, correct? So this concept is completely based on virtualization here. Okay. So we'll try to look at. Here, this is the definition if everyone can see here. So virtualization is the ability to run multiple operating systems on a single physical system and share underlying hardware resources. Okay, so that means in the background, the cloud data centers, what they do, they will have a server with a high level configuration. So usually at our home, what kind of specifications we do have? Usually we might have around 16 cores CPU and 20 GB of a RAM. Like these are the basic needs and with a minimum storage, correct? But in the cloud data center, they will have a high specifications like a RAM and more number of a CPU cores. So what they'll do, they will give access to a single server machine to be accessible by multiple users. How this is divided? That single machine being installed with multiple operating system with the help of a virtualization concept. That means it will try to allow you to run multiple operating systems on a single physical system that is having a high configuration. Okay, so that each operating system that is being divided over here, that will be given access to the people across the world, so that they can trying to have a remote access to that particular operating system remotely. Okay, so this virtualization concept is the process by which one computer hosts the appearance of many computers. As I told you, the one computer, it is trying to have a multiple images, so it is nothing but an appearance. Okay, so one computer, for example, the operating system, it is installed with a virtualization software, and that software is trying to divide multiple images. Like those 10 images can be different Windows operating systems and different Linux operating systems, different Macintosh operating systems. So that's how it can be done. Okay, so it is a process by which one computer hosts the appearance of many computers. So virtualization concept is used to improve IT throughput and cost by savings by using a physical resources as a pool from which virtual resources can be allocated. So the backend, there will be a physical resources from which the virtual resources can be allocated and given access to those servers. Okay, so this should be the picture that if everyone can see and understand how it looks like. Okay, if you see, this is a picture where it is trying to show us understanding on the VM, how it is trying to have a virtual resources divided. A virtual machine is an isolated runtime environment which it have the guest operating system and the applications. Guest operating system means inside the client operating system, there will be a guest operating system that is being installed. Okay, multiple virtual systems can run on a single physical system. You can see this. This is a complete VMware. So what actually happens here? This is a physical server over here in the downside. This is nothing but a physical server located inside the data center that is managed by the cloud vendor. So inside that, there will be a software which will be installed. What kind of a software? Virtualization softwares will be installed. That is nothing but a virtualization platform, we call that. It is something like a Xen, KVM, VMware, hypervisor. You might have, see these terms or heard of in future as well. So once the software is installed, this is trying to provide as an interface to divide this particular physical machine into multiple guest operating system. Guest means it is trying to install into the client machine. You can see this is guest operating system 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the guest operating systems. So we will be trying to get access to these VMs as the applications are installed into each separate operating system. It can be Windows operating system, it can be Linux operating system, it can be Macintosh, right? So this is how the guest operating systems will be divided, and from where users can try to have an access to these machines virtually. That means the guest operating systems, correct? So that will, these guest operating systems like a virtual machines will try to behave like a physical server where we can try to access them, we can try to store the data, we can try to install the applications. Everything can be done. All right. So as I told you, right, the software which is trying to make sure these guest operating systems can be operated, that is nothing but a hypervisor. The hypervisor is a virtual machine manager or a monitor. We are calling that as a VMM. Or virtual manager, it is a program that allows multiple operating systems to share a single hardware host. Okay, that means it is, this program will try to allows multiple operating systems to share a single hardware host by dividing the main physical machine into multiple guest operating systems. Each guest operating systems appears to have a host processor, memory, and other resources like CPU, RAM, storage, software, everything to itself. That means each divided guest operating system will have a dedicated processor, dedicated memory, dedicated CPU, and everything like that. However, the hypervisor is actually controlling the host processor and the resources allocated what is need to each operating system in turn, and making sure that guest operating system called virtual machines cannot have any issues further. Okay, so the hypervisor is the software which its main concept that is trying to make sure to manage the resources for the main operating system and to make sure the virtual machines are up and running. Okay, all right, I hope everyone is understanding, correct? Okay, benefits of virtualization. What are the benefits? Sharing of resources helps cost reduction. Okay, because as the resources being shared, the cost will be definitely, it is going to be reduced. Isolation means separation. Virtual machines are isolated from each other as if they are physically separated. It will try to make us assume that these are physical machines and it is physically divided, but actually in the background, because of the virtualization, what actually happened, virtualization is the concept that is trying to divide the virtual machine into, isolated from a different environment. Encapsulations. Encapsulate. Encapsulation is a concept actually. It is a way to restrict the direct access to some components of an object so that users cannot access the devices or the values of a particular object. Okay. So encapsulation is something like a binding of a data and methods into one entity to define itself and the scope of its operation. Okay. So hardware independence. Virtual machines run independently of underlying hardware. Okay. That means the hardware that is being managed by the cloud vendor, that is trying to be maintained by data center level. And the portability, virtual machines can be migrated between different hosts. All right. When we try to relate the virtualization concept in the cloud computing takes virtualization one step further, because you don't need to run, you don't need to own the hardware, correct? Because you doesn't require to maintain the physical infrastructure. Resources are rented as needed by the cloud. Various providers like a cloud vendors allows to create a virtual servers. That means choosing the right operating system and software instance which will have, and the choose operating system will run on a large server farm, can instantiate more virtual servers or shut down existing ones within minutes, like a within time. All right. So this is how the virtualizations in the cloud computing is trying to benefit. You will get billed only for what you used, right? So this is nothing but an example of pay as you go service. Virtualization security challenges. The trusted computing basic of a virtualization is too large. The trusted computing base of a virtualization too large, correct? So TCP is nothing but a small amount of a software and a hardware. That security depends on what we distinguish, but from a much larger amount that can misbehave without affecting the security. Okay, so TCP should be always smaller, which is trying to have a more security over here. Okay, this concept is nothing but related to a security level. So these are nothing but a virtualization architecture and the threat model. So how this VM concept and the software it will be there, right? That is how it will be trying to show up. It is trying to show up understanding. So they are trying to, you can see this in the base physical machine. They are trying to install a software over here, like a Xen software, for example. And on top of that, a guest operating system being installed. You can see, and the related drivers, the guest operating systems, like a Linux machine and Windows XP and everything. The top guest operating systems being installed over here, and so that we can trying to control these virtual machines in the virtually over the internet with the user software what we are seeing here. Okay, so what are the requirements for virtualization over here? We can see this scenario. A client uses the service for a cloud computing to build a remote VM. What we required? A secure network interface is needed. A secure secondary storage is required. A secure runtime environment. Okay, like a building, save, restore, and we can try to shut down or destroy the servers as well. These are the minimum basic security requirements for a successful server launch in the cloud. Okay. And again, the secure runtime environment is most fundamental. That is, with the which is trying to have the requirement is to avoid any such issues. Network interface. that is being controlled with a transport layer security. There is a TLS mechanism being used. For the storage level, secure network file system technology being utilized here. That's why this being considered as a secure. The security mechanism in the first two rely on the secure runtime environment. All the cryptographic algorithms and secure protocols reside in the runtime environment that is completely managed with the cloud vendor. So this is trying to show up an interface of TCP, right? Like this, the blue color denotes the actual TCP, the red denotes the smaller TCP. Okay, it is trying to have it like a complex, avoiding the complicated situations. They are trying to show up the information over here. It's about domain, it's not required. So hypervisor vulnerabilities, right? So they are trying to tell malicious software can run on the same server, like attack hypervisor or access to abstract or other VMs. You can see there are some malicious, vulnerabilities that can trying to have like a virus, correct? So these are the servers, and the hypervisor, there might be a chance that these vulnerabilities can trying to attack. Okay, so this trying to show up over here. So now what this virtualization concept, we are trying to have it in the background. There is a software called NoHype. NoHype is a software that is trying to remove the hypervisor. Okay, there is nothing to attack. Complete system solution still retains the need of virtual cloud infrastructure. Okay, roles of the hypervisor: isolating or emulating the resources. That means it is trying to manage the CPU, where it is trying to helpful for scheduling the virtual machines. Memory, it is trying to manage the memory over here. Input output, emulating input output devices, and trying to manage the network as well, and managing the virtual machines. These are kind of a roles of hypervisor software that is trying to have it maintained. These are like various methods, like removing the hypervisor and trying to replace with actual count. So these are the basic understanding of virtual machines, virtualization concepts, and the types, and how these servers can be divided. Okay. We try to show you how this the cloud console usually looks like. For example, you can see this is how simply the cloud console looks like. Okay, so this is where we will try to operate our own infrastructure. We will try to maintain our own infrastructure. So this is the sample for Amazon. Okay, so this console looks like where we can try to operate applications, control it, and launch the servers, like it can be a Windows operating system, Windows servers and the Linux servers, everything we can try to manage over here. Okay. See, there are different services that being offered actually over the cloud environment, like analyticals, computes, containers, database services, developer services, gaming developments, IoTs, machine learnings, governance, media services, networks, robotics, satellites, security services, storage services. There are various services that's being offered, and once you try to join the full-time course session, the batch, you will be able to get to understand on these services as well. Okay, so from this console, we are trying to launch a virtual machines as we have discussed, right? These virtual machines, like we are calling as a servers, we are trying to access remotely. We can try to launch over here and trying to access remotely and trying to install our applications. That is a main benefit. Okay. So they are just trying to see the documentation. You can see this is a host physical server, the hypervisor software being installed, and where it is trying to manage the network components, the storage components, and the security and everything. Correct. On top of that, the guest operating systems, like one physical server. This is a big physical server. It is being divided into multiple guest operating systems. Correct. So that's when we were trying to get an access, remote access to these servers over the internet, right? And if you see, so let's try to understand the basic virtualization example. Consider a company that needs servers for these three functions. That means to store business emails securely, to run a customer facing web application, to run internal business applications. These are the requirements for a company. Okay. So now each of these functions has a different configuration requirements. That means the email, to store the business email securely, means we need an email application. The email applications requires more storage capacity and a Windows operating system. This is the requirement. The customer facing application requires a Linux operating system and a high processing power to handle large amount of website traffic. The internal business application requires iOS and more internal memory. So to meet these requirements, the company set up three different dedicated physical servers for each application. Okay. If you need three physical servers for three requirements, what actually happening? The company must make a high initial investment. That means I need to purchase the servers, I need to invest money, trying to have an operating cost and trying to give an salaries to IT staff, performing ongoing maintenance and upgrades of one machine at a time. The company also cannot optimize its computing capacity. It pays 100% of the server maintenance cost, but uses only a fraction of their storage and processing capabilities. That means you're trying to pay the amount for entire servers purchase, but you're trying to use for some specific purpose at some particular time. So these are the main disadvantages, correct? Now, what actually happening? Efficient hardware used. With a virtualization, the company creates three digital service servers. That means virtual servers or virtual machines we are calling. the company creates, I don't want to spend so much amount, so much investment and perform maintenance. Instead of that, I want to, the company want to actually create 3 digital servers or virtual machines over the cloud on a single physical servers. Okay, on a single physical servers. It specifies the operating system requirements for the virtual machines and can use them like the physical servers. Okay, so the company now has a less hardware and a fewer related expenses. Now the company can again go one step further. This is for a physical server. They had an idea that they will have a one physical server with a good hardware specifications. They will install the virtualization software and they will try to have a guest operating system created. This is one option. Now if you try to see infrastructure as a service, what is trying to do, the company can go one step further and use a cloud instance or a virtual machine from a cloud computing provider such as AWS. So AWS manages all the underlying hardware and the company can request server resources with various configurations. All the applications run on these virtual servers without the users notifying any differences. Okay, so server management also becomes easier for the company's IT team. That is the main benefit over here. So by replacing this complete infrastructure over the cloud directly, that is going to save lots of operational cost, the maintenance and the money thing, right? What we are trying to see here. All right. So this is how this virtualization in the cloud concept technologies benefits the companies, right? Like a start scale and mid scale and enterprise, government agencies. It is trying to save the amount, save the cost, operating systems and overhead IT for cost as well. Correct? So we have a different types of a hypervisor softwares we have seen. As I told you, the virtual machine is a software and hypervisor is a software component that is being installed inside this virtual machines, right? So hypervisor is a software component that maintains multiple virtual machines in a computer. It ensures that each virtual machine gets the allocated resources and do not interface with the operation of other virtual machines. So there are two types of a hard hypervisors. What are those? Type 1 hypervisor, type 2 hypervisor. A type 1 hypervisor, we call it as a bare metal hypervisor. It is a program installed directly on the computer hardware instead of the operating system. Okay. Therefore, type 1 hypervisor have a better performance and are commonly used by enterprise applications. KVM use the type 1 hypervisor to host multiple virtual machines on the Linux operating systems. Type 2 hypervisor is also known as a hosted hypervisor. This is installed on a direct operating system. These type 2 hypervisors are suitable for end user computing. So based on the requirement, based on the need, these kind of a hypervisor software is being utilized. Okay, this is all about the virtualization and the hypervisors, the benefits and how it's trying to operate the background. All right, so that's it from my end. So tomorrow we'll try to see some more aspects related to it, and I'll show you if how this virtual server can be launched in the cloud as well tomorrow. Okay, so thanks everyone. Yeah, Chandra, I'm done.
Yeah, Balachandra, hope you are done. Hello?
Yeah, Chandra, I am done.
Yeah, thank you. So, students, we are done for the day. We'll meet on tomorrow, okay? Yeah, thank you.